Biden is definitely better than Trump. Trump is pushing on fascism, facilitating the rise of white supremacy, giving nod to those elements in society that wants to eliminate not only Muslims, but all minorities altogether. So the fact that we have a choice between two is an important point of distinction, but let's not be mistaken to think that because we have a distinction, this all of a sudden is gonna eliminate and Islamophobia will not be a problem.
Islamophobia has always been an election issue historically in the United States. It's been used by both sides of the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats. And they use this really and weaponize it against Muslims to drum up votes for various constituencies. And I see this, that the rise of Islamophobia tends to coincide with election cycles as well. So it's very strategic in the way that it's used. And
as research shows, spikes during election cycle, both in the United States, in Canada, in many parts of Europe, we see that Islamophobia is utilized as a wedge issue. We're seeing similar type of strategy being deployed, but I would add that Trump at this point is both using anti-Chinese by constantly referencing the China virus, as well as using Islamophobia as a way to try to stoke white resentment and trying to increase their turnout at the ballot box. So in this sense, Islamophobia is part and parcel of the 2020 election.
Vice President Biden has made a commitment to ending CVE practices, which is countering violent extremism. And so that policy, I think, is a big step, not only for Muslim Americans, but also Arab Americans and South Asians. I have seen in this election cycle, especially from the Democrats, that they've started to walk away from more of their Islamophobic positions. There's been meetings with the Biden campaigns with Muslims at various events. I see that the Biden campaign is going like steps in the right direction, but to the extent that I can say that it's going to eliminate or eradicate Islamophobia completely in a new administration, I think that will be something that time will tell.
I don't think that we could assume that Biden is going to end Islamophobia. Biden is engaging in an electoral strategy. So he's giving a nod to the Muslim communities in Michigan, also in Pennsylvania, Ohio, possibly also Florida, and increasingly Texas is in play. In all these states, Muslim votes might not be that large, but there actually are a swing vote that would possibly bring him those states.
With respect to whether or not like Muslim votes are being requested and not just their voices, I also see this desire to move away from the status quo of having Muslims as tokens. And I've seen that in the way that the administration has really created various coalition groups within the campaign. So you're starting to see not only Pakistanis for Biden, there's also Iranian Americans for Biden, there's also Arab Americans for Biden, there's Muslims for Biden, there's all these subgroups as well. That level of engagement is new. And so what I see happening from that type of engagement is those individuals and groups that have been formulated as a part of the campaign will also move in to be part of the transition team, as well as advising on policy issues.
I do think that Muslims' mobilization at this point might push Biden's administration in a different direction.
We had a 17-page document that really set forward a vision of what we want as Muslim Americans in this country. So we didn't get the big wins that we wanted with respect to Israel and Kashmir, but we did see movement, and I think having movement going forward is better than really being at a standstill, which is where we have been with the Trump administration. And I see a second Trump administration as similar to a second Modi administration, is that it will be all out, like leashing out against Muslim communities in America.
I think Muslims in mobilizing across the country are beginning to show their political muscle at the grassroots, at the regional level, including many Muslims who are running for elections that their voices are being registered and heard, despite the walls of both ignorance, Islamophobia, as well as pro-Israel sentiments that wants to lock Muslims up, that wants to actually prevent them from having a say both in their affairs domestically, but also to speak about the Palestinian issue and Palestine. He is beholden to AIPAC's agenda. He is still beholden to Netanyahu's priorities. So we need to understand the strategic landscape that Biden will come into, making symbolic gestures, meaningful, but not actually fundamentally changing the strategic landscape vis-a-vis the Palestinians. I think Democrats or Republicans are still, both parties in the United States are beholden to the military-industrial complex. They are committed to an interventionist policy.
The concerns about, Biden having a war hawk foreign policy team is of concern. So I think there's a little bit more work to do there in terms of that.
A Biden administration will be far more sophisticated in its language, but make no mistake about it, it will still be a unilateral state that is acting as a superpower in the world and using its powerful military in order to exert and continue to push its unilateral engagement around the world, including massive interventions in the Muslim world.
The Biden campaign is really attempting to really distance itself from Islamophobic rhetoric of President Trump, especially as it relates to the Middle East.
I don't see a Biden administration pulling back from U.S. Military interventionist policies or military deployment across the world. If we take a look at the foreign policy for Biden, I would say that it will maintain an interventionist in a much more active support for military-industrial complex and engagement in the Arab and Muslim world, which in the background of it also the constant recalling of Islamophobic discourses of why we need to intervene in the Muslim world. We are living in an Islamophobic social imaginary, and this election is not gonna change it. The only way for us is for changing Islamophobia is a sustained effort. One election is not gonna do it.